Hi, my name is Anna Gonzalez, and I'm making this video to share my experience in the Intellectual Entrepreneurship program at the University of Texas at Austin. I participated in the Intellectual Entrepreneurship program in the fall of 2005, in my last year at UT. And I'd been the first person in my family to go to college. I always sort of knew that I wanted to go and do something after college. I thought that something was going to be law school. As I started studying classics, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with Greek and Latin. I fell in love with the interdisciplinary nature of classics. And I started asking whether or not I wanted to go to graduate school in classics. I had some serious reservations about going to graduate school in classics, partly because it was unknown. I didn't know what the workload was like. I didn't know what professors did on a day-to-day basis, or graduate students did on a day-to-day basis. But I think probably more importantly, I didn't think that there was any sort of real-world application to classics. I had always seen myself sort of going to law school, becoming a public defender, or doing something, with a real-world impact, and I really didn't think I could do that with classics. One of my professors, Carl Galinsky, sort of saw that I was struggling with these questions and suggested that I participate in the intellectual entrepreneurship program. And honestly, I think that's probably the best thing I could have done at that point. It was unlike anything I did at UT. It was unique in that I got to decide, the format of it in consultation with my faculty mentor. I got to decide what questions I wanted to ask, what I wanted to know, how I wanted to go about finding it out. And it was flexible enough that as I sort of started answering the questions that I asked initially and wanted to ask more, I could go ahead and do that. I took a graduate course in classics at the same time that I was doing the internship. I audited another graduate course. I met once weekly with my faculty mentor, and we discussed sort of issues in classics, articles, written by classicists asking, about the value of classics. And what role it had to play in education going forward. We also sort of looked at graduate school programs and tried to assess whether or not they were sort of right for me. I met with graduate students. I asked about their experience TAing, what their course load was like, what their experience was with the application process, and what made them decide to come to UT. I also got to meet bi-weekly with other IE interns. And the great thing about that is during the course of the meetings, you realize that, even though you're in vastly different, different disciplines, you can be in biomedical engineering or English or, whatever, you're sort of asking the same questions, or a lot of the same questions, and but you're asking them from different perspectives a lot of the time, and at least I got to bring those different perspectives, into the questions that I was asking about classics, and sort of look at classics from different angles, and that was really helpful for me. I think the biggest thing that the IE internship did for me was that sort of turned the questions that I asked about classics a little bit on their head. I started asking, is classics relevant? Can I make it relevant? Is it right for me? And I sort of ended up asking, what do I want out of classics? What can I do with it? Which are a little bit different questions. And even though at the end of the internship, I decided that at that point, classics was not, or graduate school rather, was not, something I wanted to do right away. When I ended up working for a couple of years, but when I did decide to come back and apply for graduate programs, I knew exactly what I wanted out of a graduate program. I knew I wanted or preferred to be at a public institution. I wanted to be in a department that emphasized interdisciplinary collaboration. I wanted to be at a department that emphasized outreach, public outreach, and I ended up being awarded a fellowship because I want to do public outreach. I think whether or not you end up going to graduate school or not, whether or not you decide at the end of the program that graduate school is not for you, I think IE is really valuable because it forces you to ask what you want out of your education and how you want to use it. If you have any questions about IE, you're more than welcome to email me. My email should be below this video. But anyway, IE was invaluable for me.